And when I see someone who's young, who's taken a leap and is making it happen, it always impresses me. So when I first came across you, and I think that I had been active on Amazon and on leaving reviews, and you had emailed me about reviewing a book, and then I saw how many books you have and how much you've been doing. I just couldn't believe it. So the first thing I would want to know, you started this early on, and I know from your bio you were an entrepreneur by the time you were, 12 or 13, but what caused that? Do you have any idea what brought that on? Is it your father, your mother, friends? What really gave you the confidence to hop in like that?
That's a great question. I think part of it was I was the youngest child. I was the youngest of 4 boys. So, being the youngest of 4 brothers kind of made me a little bit more rebellious. I got to learn, more. I had to do more to stand out and get attention, basically. And I had definitely a free spirit. I didn't want my brothers or my parents to tell me what to do, so I wanted to do my own thing. And so from an early age, I knew I didn't want a job because I didn't want a boss to tell me what to do every day. I wanted to be doing my own thing. So, my first business was when I was 13. It wasn't really a business. I mean, it was more like a hobby. We were basically manufacturing lamps. My dad did woodworking. He's a hobbyist woodworker. And so we made these lamps for people with SAD, which is seasonal affective disorder.
Right.
Really common disorder in northern Indiana where we lived. And that was just such a hobby. It was great to make money, but it wasn't really serious. Then when I was in college, I went to business school. And when I was a freshman, I saw my classmates. Basically, we were in the honors program, and we had to do an internship. So that was part of the deal of the program. And so I skipped, the first summer internship because I knew I didn't want to do that. But I talked to one of my friends. She called me, and she was in tears because she was working over 100 hours a week on Wall Street, investment banking, and she didn't have time to eat. She didn't have time to drink. She didn't have time to exercise. She didn't have time for social life. Her health was falling apart. Everything was going wrong in her life, except she was making decent money on Wall Street. And I said, there's no way I want to spend the rest of my life like that. So I did, from that point on, I did everything I could to find a way to make money on my own without having someone else tell me what to do. So that was really the genesis for me, the starting point when I was, drove full on and started my own business from college.
Where did you take it from there? In business school, you got the feel for it, but what was your first deal in?
My first business that was really profitable was actually network marketing. I know a lot of people don't like network marketing or multi-level marketing or direct sales as it's called, but I think it was the best decision I ever could have made in my entire life. I mean, I learned more in 6 months of direct sales than I learned in 4 years of business school, which I paid, over $100,000 for. And at least when I was doing direct sales, I was actually making a profit instead of, spending the money. So, but the great thing about sales that's amazing is because it forces you to, first of all, become a better communicator. I mean, you have to be able to talk one-on-one with someone or one to a group and to present ideas in a way that makes people want something, persuasion. But to me, sales is not about, hard sales tactics and things like that. What it's really about is education. Because if the customer knows enough about the product to understand how it's going to help improve their life, then pretty soon when they're educated enough, they see more money coming to them or more value coming to them than the money that they're going to pay for that product. And when that happens, you have a sale. And I think it's the same way whether you're an author, whether you're in business, no matter what your business is. When the customer knows enough about a great product or a good product, and they understand how it's going to help them and change their life and improve their life, then it's a no-brainer for them to just give their money to get that value. So that was, huge lesson for me. That I've always taken that lesson, and everything I've done since then, it's really improved my life and the results I've gotten.
Yeah, good point, Tom. Was the first thing you got into the juice business?
Yeah, it's Juice Plus. It's a network marketing company. It's basically like fruits and vegetables and capsules. And I'm still,
you're still doing that?
Yeah, still in that business. I still have an amazing team that I work with, and still taking the product for 14 years now. So I love it.
That's great. Now, seems like you're into health in other ways as well. I mean, it's not that you just sell the healthy products. You really believe in health. I gather from your writings. Is that true?
Absolutely. I mean, health is like the most important thing. I mean, finances and wealth is important to me too, but you can be rich and not have any health, and then you end up spending all your money anyways, and your life is shorter and you don't get to enjoy it. So, one of the things that I think has really helped me in my life is that I have, this inner curiosity, and that curiosity has driven me from a young age to look at other people around me, especially older people, people like my parents' age or older, and look at their lives and see how things have gone. And when I see a lot of people who are family friends who have diabetes and cancer and heart disease and strokes, and they've got feet amputated from diabetes and all these horrible medical complications, and I say, look, I want to do anything I can to not have that happen to me. I mean, we're all going to get old, we're all going to age, we're all going to die someday. But when I'm here, I want it to be great, and I want my journey to be healthy and vibrant and vital instead of going to the doctor every week or every day. So if you can invest an hour a day in exercising and eating healthy, you're going to get far more time returned to you and value returned to you. So I think the key to that is long-term thinking. I think we've become programmed or conditioned by media today, the news and things like that, to be so focused on the short term. We focus about survival today. How do we make a paycheck today? But we don't look at long-term success. And I think for me, long-term success means being healthy, earning a good income, having great relationships, having a great spiritual life, being happy with who you are. And there's so much to it. So I think if you focus on that long term, you're going to get a better result, and you're going to get a better result quicker too.
You're wise beyond your years, Tom. Did you say you're 26 now?
Yeah, I'm 26.
Is that incredible? Hey, tell me, you're living on Kauai. So what's a typical day like for Tom Corson-Knowles?
Typical day. My day actually starts the night before. So the night before, when I'm about to go to bed, I usually read at least an hour before bedtime, and then either before or after reading, I'll plan out my day the next day in advance. So I learned this from Jim Rohn, who's an amazing mentor. I listened to his audio CDs all the time in the car when I was in direct sales, when I was really growing that business. And what he says is just plan your day in advance. So the night before, I'll ask myself, okay, what are the most important things I need to do tomorrow? What phone calls do I need to make? Am I going to be writing tomorrow? What am I working on? If I'm going to be writing, I'll brainstorm out, general outline of what I'm going to be writing about. And it just takes like 5 minutes, 10 minutes at most. But then when I get up in the morning, I read my list, and I know exactly what I'm going to do. I no longer have hesitation or frustration or procrastination, because I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. And, like that simple process of planning out what you're going to write the day in advance, it makes writing so easy, because as soon as you open up, Word, you're writing right away. I used to try to write from a blank page with no plan, no outline, and I would sit there for like 40 minutes, like, I don't know what to write. But if you just, consciously think about it, I think you already understand inside you, probably locked in your subconscious mind somewhere, you already know what you need to do to improve your life. You already know what you need to do to take your business, your health, your relationships to the next level. Chances are you're probably just not doing it. You're not thinking about it. You're not conscious about it. But if you can just review that and become conscious, then you're going to have, much better results. So that's how I start my day in advance the night before. Then when I get up, I drink a nice glass of water, have a good breakfast. Sometimes I'll work out, sometimes not. And I usually go right to the computer and start writing, start recording videos, start working on my most important projects for the day. So try to get that most important creative work done in the morning. Then after that, I'll usually work on whatever I don't want to work on. So if it's like paperwork or tax stuff or financial stuff that I'm not really excited about, but I know needs to get done, I'll do that next. And then after that, I'll work on more routine business things like emails and communication and phone calls and things like that in the middle of the day. And then after that, sometimes I'll work most of the day. Sometimes I'll go out. Sometimes I'll take the entire day off and go to the beach and just relax. So, the great thing about owning your own business and working from home is that you get to choose what you want to do. So every day is a little bit different, but in terms of a work day, that's pretty much how it works out.
That's excellent. And those routine items, email, social media, which is really more than just a sidelight, but all that stuff. Do you save that for that time? I mean, do you avoid checking email, getting interrupted by other things when you have that prime time working going on?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if I'm recording videos, if I'm writing a book, I turn the email off, I close all that stuff out, and I just focus on that creative work. I think, when I was growing up, I used to think I was really left-brained, I'm really good at math and things like that, but now as I'm growing my businesses, I realize that it's all creative work, it's all right-brain work. And, writing books and, creating a business and growing a business and coming up with new marketing strategies, this is all creative work. And I think that to do really good creative work, you can't have distractions. You can't have, someone calling you on the phone or texting you constantly or, checking email while you're trying to, record a video or plan a new program or new product. So I think you really need to have that totally alone isolation time, shut the door, and focus on creating something really great that's going to add value to the world.
Beautiful. Tell me, what are you reading now?
What I'm reading right now, I just got done reading Charlie Munger's book. It's called Poor Charlie's Almanac. It's amazing. And in that book, he talks about the 25 common causes of human misjudgment. All these different, psychological biases that humans are programmed with that often cause us to make really poor decisions. And, Charlie really credits all the, he's a billionaire, he's Warren Buffett's business partner, credits, almost all of his success to understanding, how the human mind works and how to avoid really big mistakes. And so I've been learning about that and trying to apply that to my own life.
Does it get into decision making then?
Yeah, exactly. So his whole concept is that first, the key to making a good decision is to just not make bad decisions. And so to understand why humans make bad decisions. So like one of the great reasons or causes of misjudgment he talks about is social proof. So, it's like this mob mentality. Like if you're in a group of people, protesting for something like that, and someone throws a rock at the police officer, well, you're more likely to throw a rock at that police officer too, just because you're surrounded by people who are doing that.
Right.
We all know this about teenagers. If your teenagers hang around people who drink and do drugs, they're more likely to do that. If you hang around people who play piano or go to concerts, you're more likely to do that. If you hang around people who are starting businesses, you're more likely to do that. And it's just subconscious. It's how we're programmed, from evolution or whatever you believe. And that's just how the human mind works, that we're just programmed to act more like people around us. So, if you can control your environment and people around you, if you want to start a business, hang around people who start businesses. If you want to be a writer, hang around people who are serious writers. If you want to, whatever you want to do, hang around people that want to do what you want to do. That's how you aspire to a higher level.
What I think of when you're saying that is so many times I see people, let's say on Facebook or Google communities, and they're link droppers, They hop into a community they think is where there's going to be people who would buy their product or follow their affiliate link or whatever. And they just drop it in there like a bomb and move on, really thinking that they're going to make an impact. But they're just they're harming themselves. But so what I think of when you're saying that, Tom, is what they're really missing out on is if they're in the right community or the right group, there are people there who could really help them. It would be better to come in and say hi and sit down and listen and get involved in the conversation and focus on learning and growing and build it up that way.
Exactly.
So often because it is important who we hang out with.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's a really key idea you just mentioned right there, because I call this like connecting with influencers versus selling. Because like when I got started on Twitter, I realized pretty quickly that there are people out there with like hundreds of thousands of followers, people with really significant followings. And then there are people with very little or none. And so most people, what they try to do on social media is they try to sell everyone who's following them to buy my product, buy my book, et cetera, et cetera. But if you can actually focus on building really good relationships with those influencers in your community, if you have one person tweet out to 100,000 people, that's going to be way, way more effective than you with 1,000 followers, just spamming people all day. And it also takes a lot less time. To have a one-on-one conversation with someone takes a lot less time than to try to constantly every day, make sales, using that kind of strategy. So I think it's much better to connect with people who really make a difference, people who are leaders in the market.
And you wrote the book on Twitter marketing, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. I did write a book on that, yeah.
All right. How many books do you have out now?
I've got about 21, maybe 22. I'm not exactly sure.
Incredible. Are those all available on Amazon?
Yeah, all the books are on Amazon. It's amazon.com/author/business. Will take you right to my author page. You can see all the books.
Incredible. Hey, have you seen Guy Kawasaki's, well, it's not so new anymore, been out a few months, Ape?
Yeah, I saw Ape. I read it right when it came out. He actually sent me, through alltop.com, he asked me to review it. So I had a review copy before it was published, and it's a great book.
It's funny. I saw you wrote, you say, and here this is a quote from your writing, you can achieve all of your dreams through publishing ebooks if you're willing to master 3 key areas: writing, publishing, and marketing.
Yeah.
That's Ape. Did Kawasaki type that from you? What do you say?
No, I think, these things are so basic, that, a lot of people have the same ideas. And because, it's just the natural process of evolution is that, you try different things and you find out what works. So no, I don't think you stole my ideas at all, but at the same time, a lot of people will read that sentence and say, well, that's so obvious, Tom, that doesn't make a difference, that's not going to help me at all. But I think the key here is to understand that you have to master these fundamentals. You look at great leaders in the world, like John Wooden, known as the best coach in the history of the world, or one of the top 5 for sure. He took UCLA to over 10 championships. And every single time, his first practice of the first season, he would teach his players how to tie their shoes. And every player, they would laugh at him. They would say, "This is stupid. Why are we learning this? This is only an idiot doesn't know how to tie his shoes." And he said, "Look, if you tie your shoes wrong and your laces come untied in a game and you fall and get injured, that's a mistake that's completely preventable and inexcusable." And I think that's the same thing in business. Is you have to understand what are these fundamentals that if you violate them, it's absolutely inexcusable, and that failure is going to result from that. And you understand that, and you say, look, if I'm going to be an author, I have to master writing, I have to master marketing, I have to master publishing. So I'm going to study these areas or find team members who are going to help me in those areas. And it's obvious, but the people who do really, really well just master those fundamentals. They don't do anything fancy or anything special. They're just really good at the basic stuff.
That's so true in my experience too, Tom. Starting with, playing drums in school, it was always the fundamentals. It's every sport, always the fundamentals. And you're so right. And they're obvious. Sometimes those obvious things we want to run right by, but we need them. Yeah. So a fundamental in writing, a big one is, the publishing end. Mm-hmm. And I hear a lot of different rundowns on that. I think Sean Welsh and Guy Kawasaki end up saying you're better off using, I believe, InDesign. Mm-hmm. Some people say use WordPress. Some people say, no, you got to go through. What's your take on that? What's the best way to get your book published well outside of hiring Sean Welsh to do it for you?
Well, that's a great question. I think we have to first understand, are we talking about self-publishing or traditional publishing here?
Yep, self-publishing. Okay. Say getting a book up on Kindle.
Yeah, okay. So if you're going to publish your own book, Einstein has this great quote that everything should be as simple as possible, but not too simple. Paraphrasing. Yep. But I really agree with that.
That was Einstein, wasn't it?
That was Einstein, yeah, exactly.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. So, and he was a brilliant man, obviously. And I just taken that idea from him and said, I'm going to use that in everything I do. So when I write books for myself, here's the process I use. I'm not going to say it's the best process in the world, or maybe it's what you should use, but it's just what I use and works really, really well because it's so simple. So what I do is I just use Microsoft Word. I've got the latest version of Microsoft Word. I write my book in there. And Microsoft Word was designed so you can format books really effectively. So it works really, really well, especially for Kindle, because Kindle is really, really basic. There's not a lot of fancy design or things like that. It's not like the Apple bookstore where you can do these fancy books with graphics in the back and stuff like that. Kindle is just text, image, text, image. It's just this simple formula. So Microsoft Word is the easiest way to do it. I've got free video tutorials to teach anyone who wants to learn how to format their book with Microsoft Word at ebookpublishingschool.com. So you can get the free tutorials there. But basically,
that's all one word, right? It's not e-book, it's
right.
ebook publishing.
Ebook Publishing School. ebookpublishingschool.com.
School.com.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So once you format your book in Microsoft Word, all you have to do is you go to kdp.amazon.com and you can upload your file directly from Microsoft Word. You don't have to convert it to EPUB or Mobi or anything like that. You upload it directly from Microsoft Word, and Amazon converts it for you, and then you publish it, and it takes almost no time at all. So that's why I love it, because it's so simple, it's so easy. It's not complex. I like to keep things as simple as possible.
What about getting your photographs in?
So to do a photograph,
is that all in Word as well?
No, that's really easy. All you have to do is just hit Insert in Microsoft Word and then upload the file from your computer somewhere.
Right.
So that's pretty basic. Generally, you want to use JPEG because they're going to be smaller, and if they're huge image files, you want to compress them, because otherwise, the file size of your book is going to be really large. So it's just going to increase your delivery costs, which are basically the cost to transmit that data through Amazon. So, you'll save a few cents by having compressed images, but that's not really a huge issue.
Okay. And what about Word? I've noticed for blogging, if you write something in Word and then cut and paste onto WordPress,
right.
Word throws out these HTMLs, like for instance, italics are I instead of EM. Is that a problem at all with the Kindles?
No. So like I said, Amazon actually designed their converter to work with Word. So it'll convert perfectly. You just have to understand how that conversion process works and how to use Word to make it work. Does that make sense?
All right, that's great. So go over to just check out your tutorials.
Yeah, the free tutorials.
It'll be easy to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
okay.
It takes like 15 minutes, to go through the video and to do it yourself. It's pretty simple.
Now, then on the marketing end, seems like, if I was to guess, I'd say, Tom's going to get the word out, and he's going to really use social media and use his contacts to help build some buzz for a book and help him with it. Is that the main thing for you? What are a few tips for marketing?
Social media and using your network is definitely one part, but it's also really obvious, and it's something that everyone kind of just naturally does. But what I really focus on is actually before the book is published. I think at least 80% of the marketing is done before a book is ever published. That means having a really good title. A book title that people are going to remember. It's easy to say, easy to remember, easy to tell your friends about. That also, communicates what the book is about. So for novels, it's kind of different. For fiction, it's kind of different. It's a totally different ballgame. But when it comes to nonfiction, I think your title needs to tell the reader, what your book is about and how it's going to help them. So that's really important. You have a great book title. Next, I think you need a good book cover. And book covers, I really focus on ebooks because all the growth right now is in ebooks. So right now, this year is about $4 billion in ebook sales in the U.S. But by 2016, PricewaterhouseCoopers did a study, and they projected to be more than 10 billion ebook sales by 2016, which is going to be just as much, if not more, than paperback sales at that time. So all the growth right now is in ebooks. And the way that people buy ebooks is on Amazon.com and on their Kindles, devices, or their iPads and things like that. And the way that your book covers are displayed are just in these tiny little thumbnails. They're like 60 by 90 pixels. So they're super small thumbnails. So a book cover that looks amazing on the shelf, at Borders or Barnes and Nobles, does not look good necessarily in a thumbnail on Amazon or on a Kindle. So we design covers that are really easy to read at that size. So we make sure that the title, it doesn't have fancy text on the title. It's really plain block text, and it's big and it's bold. So it makes it really easy to read. So even if it's a little thumbnail, you can still read the title of the book. I think that's really important because you're going to get more clicks that way. And And of course, clicks mean more traffic and more customers buying your book. After you have a great title and a great book cover, I think you really need, actually before that really, you need good positioning. So you need to understand, how your book is being positioned in the market, and that's going to tell you, how to do the title and the cover. And positioning is really about, how you're marketing your message. So, for instance, if you're writing a book about writing, right? There's lots of ways you can position that. You can say this is a writing book for new writers, or this is a writing book for people who already have written books but they want to get even better, or this is a writing book for people who want to learn grammar, or this is a writing book for people who want to just sell more books, right? So there's so many ways you can position a book, and you have to understand how you're going to position it first, so that when you do your title and your cover and your marketing, that it all combines together. Because if your title is, writing for beginners, and then your cover, just has a bunch of money all over it, and then the book itself is, about, grammar or something like that, right? Then it doesn't align, and then there's going to be this disconnect between what readers think they're buying and what they really are buying, and your marketing is going to fall apart. So everything's got to be aligned, to that one message, that one core message of what you're offering.
So that's some good stuff. Tell me, when you do your covers, are you doing them yourself? Do you have somebody that you have a go-to person?
Yeah, I've got a couple of graphic designers. Actually, when I first started out, I used Fiverr a lot, Fiverr.com. And because it was $5 to have someone design a book cover for you. I know most people.
You got to kiss a lot of frogs, though.
Exactly, that's the thing. So, like for my newest book, Secrets of the Six-Figure Author, that's exactly what I did. I actually had 10 people design a book cover for that book, and I had them all do it on Fiverr.com. So it only cost me $50, but then I had 10 covers to choose from, and the one that I chose, it was like as soon as I saw it, I just knew like this is a great cover. I really liked it. I just had to make a few changes and tweaks to it. That's one thing that people don't understand about Fiverr is that a lot of those sellers who are really good, is you can tell them to make as many changes as you want. It's not like you have to just live with what they deliver. So if someone delivers you a horrible cover, that doesn't mean it's the end of that relationship. Keep communicating. Say, hey, I like these parts of it, but not this part of it, and ask them to change it. And I think that's the key with any creative process. It's never going to be good the first time around. Same thing with a book. The first draft of every book sucks. I mean, if you read the first draft of Harry Potter, it's probably awful, right? But it was edited and fixed and enhanced. And many people gave their feedback about how to make that even better. And I think it's the same thing with the book cover. If you're expecting something perfect, the first time around, then I think you're expecting too much. You've got to be willing to make changes and to improve as you go.
Yeah, good point. And probably another part of that, I would guess you're a master at letting those people on Fiverr know what you're looking for. The better you can describe what you're hoping to see, the more chance there's going to be that it'll be suitable.
Well, I think yes and no. I mean, actually, if you're going to give someone creative work, one of these unique things about the human mind is that we hate to be told how to do something. So if you tell your designer, look, it has to be this way, and it has to have this image, and it has to have these exact elements in it, then you're really constricting them into this little tiny box. And people can't do their best work in a little box. People do their best work when they have the entire field of possibility open before them. So when I give someone a cover design to do, I just say, here's the title, here's the subtitle, here's the author name, have fun with it. And then when they send me their first draft back, then I say, okay, look, these are some things I really like, these are what I don't like, please change these elements. Then I have another draft, and again, if it's not right, then I'll have them change more. But I think if you start from the beginning with exact image of what you want in mind, then not every designer is going to be able to deliver that image in your mind. Especially because oftentimes we're just not that good at explaining and communicating the images in our mind to someone else, right?
That's great. So I love that concept. So again, you give them the title, the author, and what else?
The title, subtitle,
subject,
and author name. The title and subtitle.
Subtitle. And okay, good job. That's a good idea. And I love that idea of cutting people loose, because that's what entrepreneurs are all about anyway, is being able to be cut loose and use their use their own sense.
Yeah, and you've got to empower other people because no one is successful by themselves. This whole concept of like a self-made millionaire, a self-made business person, it doesn't exist. There's no person on the earth, who got rich by themselves or who was successful in relationships or in marriage or in health by themselves. We all rely on each other. I mean, that's just how the economy works. That's how the world works. And so you have to be, if you really want success in your life, you have to empower the people around you to be successful. Let your graphic designers do their best work. Let your editors do their best work. Don't try to micromanage everything because you don't know it all. That's one of the things that I think why I've done so well is because I just realized like I'm smart in some ways, but there's so much I don't know. And Don, you know so much more about a lot of things that I just don't know. And if I'm just willing to ask you questions and to be open about it, I'm going to learn a lot more and become a lot smarter than pretending like I know, exactly how to do it and to tell you how to do it. I mean, that's just arrogance.
Good job, Tom. Again, you're wiser than your years. I'm telling you, it's really great to hear.
Thank you.
To hear this stuff. Wow. Let's hop over to guest blogging just a little bit. Well, first let me ask you this. SEO, this whole concept of, Google's algorithm changes and SEO and people are, having headaches and running for cover and all that upheaval. Are you involved in that at all? What's your general take on it?
Yes, I've studied SEO a fair bit. I'm not, I don't know everything, obviously, and I don't really, I don't spend every day reading the forums about SEO, and I don't focus a lot on SEO. I focus on the fundamentals, like I mentioned before. I just focus on the basics of SEO. And the basics of SEO is that you want, whatever content you have online, you want to include words and keyword phrases that people who are your target customer are going to search for. That's the fundamentals. And I think really anything beyond that is a little bit too much. If you focus on link building and people do like blog farms and link farms and things like that, all this black hat stuff, that once used to work and now isn't working so well. And, Google's shutting down all these people who are just using software and all these automation schemes and trying to game the system. And, that's not a sustainable business model. Like I mentioned before, I want to focus on long-term success, not short-term success. And long-term success is never going to come from cheating. It's never going to come from trying to take the easy route. It's never going to come from trying to take shortcuts. That's not where long-term success comes from. Long-term success comes from focusing on fundamentals and mastering those fundamentals, that are going to be here, even when everything else changes. So yeah, like when I started with Amazon, there were some cool things you could do with SEO and your titles and things like that, that you can do. But those are just little strategies that are going to change over time. What's going to stay the same is the fundamentals. So when I look at SEO, I look at your title and your subtitle, and I say, hey, are some relevant keywords to your market in there? So like I have a client now who's publishing a book on tapping for emotional eating disorders. So I just said, hey, why don't we just include those keywords, tapping for emotional eating disorders, in your subtitle or title somewhere? And it's obvious, it's basic. You would probably do it anyways if you were just trying to communicate clearly. I think a lot of times the big mistake authors make is they try to have like fancy sounding or poetic titles to their books, like puns or plays on words. And, that can be effective sometimes, but a lot of times it just ends up confusing the reader and it's also not good for SEO, right? So I just focus on that. And then in your book description on Amazon, I'll focus on writing your keywords in the description. So if your book is about EFT, emotional freedom technique, I'll use EFT and emotional freedom technique and different combinations of those phrases in the description. But I'll do it naturally. I'm not going to like stuff keywords. I'm not going to ever measure keyword density or anything like that. I'm just going to write it, as I would speaking here, one-to-one. I think if you focus on the person and the readers, and then just use those keywords, sparingly as you would in natural conversation, then I think you're going to do fine with SEO. You don't need to spend a lot of money or hire some expensive consulting firm to do SEO for you because, there's so much to know about it. And if they are using those black hat or gray techniques that are, maybe work today but won't work tomorrow, then it's not going to be successful for you long term.
Excellent. That's it. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Tom, I have a delivery coming to the door as we speak. So I'm gonna cut loose just for a minute at some soon point. As soon as he comes back, my son's handling it, but I think I'm gonna have to sign something.
Okay.
So just a heads up. You see me disappear. That's what happened. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Guest blogging. I know that you are a fan of guest blogging. That you've used it. You've used it, I think, for there's several good reasons for it. Let me say as a disclaimer as well that I work for Ann Smarty and my blog Guest, so I'm involved in that business. Just to make that clear to you and anyone watching this. So I'm prejudiced, but I think personally believe that guest blogging is a powerful means of getting the word across. So I know that you have quite a program laid out for that. But tell me, if you would, just a few of the best things about guest blogging in your thoughts.
Sure. That's a great question. Yeah, guest blogging is a really powerful tool. But again, like any other tools, you have to focus on long-term success with it, and that means consistency. You have to do it consistently, because if you write a guest post, one day, and then a week from now you don't write anything, and then a month from now and a year from now you're not writing any more guest posts, then it's going to have limited results. But when I first started my blog, I committed to doing at least one guest post a week. And I've seen some people do like a guest post a day, people who are really, really focusing full-time on blogging. And so the more consistent you can be with it, the better success you're going to have. So, if you're serious about guest blogging or any strategy, commit to it. Schedule it in your calendar. Okay, once a month or once a week or once a day, I'm going to do this activity, and focus on the long-term results. Because there's this rule in life, this key in life that anything worth doing is worth doing really poorly in the beginning, and it's especially true for writing and for guest blogging. That when you first write a book, or you first write a guest blog post, or you first start to do SEO, you're going to be really, really bad at it at the beginning, and you just have to keep doing it over and over again until you get better. And so in guest blogging, especially, there's like this hierarchy, this ladder that you have to climb, and you go up and up the ladder. So when you first start writing guest blog posts, you're going to be writing for someone's blog who has like almost no traffic, right? These people who have blogs that maybe they're new, maybe they don't understand SEO, maybe they're not serious bloggers themselves, but they're going to give you an opportunity, and it's a great opportunity to get a link and to just practice. And then as you go, maybe you'll start doing some PageRank 1 and PageRank 2 blogs, blogs that have some more visitors, some more traffic, but still aren't huge. And then maybe a couple months or a couple years later, you'll be doing some medium-sized blogs. And then if you keep going, maybe a few years after that, you'll be doing these major blogs like TechCrunch and Huffington Post and Engadget and Gizmodo and these gigantic, humongous blogs, and you'll be a regular guest blogger for them. So, but like anything, it takes time to build up to that level of success. So I think if you're committed to it long-term, then it's a fantastic strategy. But like anything, if you're just going to dabble in it and then quit, it's not really worth the time.
There you go. So there's the fundamental is build your business, or build what you're doing, build slow and a little bit by little bit. I think that's where the black hat trouble comes in, or where people get in trouble with SEO, is trying to do it all at once, trying to slam out a bunch of links at once, trying to game the system, and they just get in trouble. Get in trouble. Holy moly, Tom. So this idea of people getting ahead, I guess, of people being able to step out, become an entrepreneur, or be able to get their own thing going. Well, let me ask you this. What's wrong? Here's what my son told me. I was working a corporate job, and I've just been on my own now for a couple of months. It took me 50 years to get up the courage you had in 20. But I was getting ready to go to my corporate job, and I put on my tie and get ready to head out the door. And my son says, "Dad," he goes, "when I get older," he goes, "I don't want to have to go work for some fat man smoking a cigar." That's his image of the boss, right? Is some fat guy smoking a cigar and sweaty under the armpits, telling everybody what to do. So, first off, what's wrong with working a job? What's wrong with having a job, quote unquote?
Well, I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a job. Having a job is a perfectly respectable thing to do. And it's wonderful for a lot of people. it's just not wonderful for me. So I don't make judgments on other people and say, look, you have to quit your job. What you're doing is stupid. I mean, that's all just judgmental stuff. It's not true. There's a lot of people who having a job is the best thing that they could possibly be doing. And, the way I look at it is like, what's important to you in your life? If freedom and lifestyle and having more income, if these are like the most important things in your life, and if you're willing to take that risk of being poor or maybe being homeless or losing everything you have or going bankrupt, if you're willing to take those risks, then, starting a business is a fantastic thing to do. But if you're not willing to take those risks, or if those aren't the things that you value, then maybe it's better to have a job. So, I don't know, I'm not going to say if you're watching this video right now, you have to do things one way or the other. I think, you should do what's true for you and what's best for you. But I think that, honestly, anyone who wants more money or more time or more freedom, can and ought to start a business if that's your values. And you can start it part-time. You don't have to quit your job. I mean, you can start writing books or start blogging or start doing affiliate marketing or start any kind of business you want part-time on the side while you continue to do your job. And I think that, a lot of what's happened in our society is we've become programmed to be lazy. We've programmed this 9 to 5 days a week lifestyle where we work 40 hours a week and then we spend all the time commuting. And then when we get home, we just zone out. We watch TV, we just go brain dead, basically. And I think that the people who are living the most exciting lives, the most inspired lives, who are doing the best work in the world, they don't look at the world that way. They don't look at the world in these little boxes of here's when I'm working, here's when I'm not working. Like for me, my life is my work is my life, and there's a lot of things outside of my work that I do, but it's all connected. If I'm at a party and I meet someone and we start talking about writing, we could talk at a party for 3 hours about the writing business. And some people would call that work, and some people call that social life, and it's both to me. I mean, it's not one or the other. So I think if you love what you do, if you're inspired by what you're doing, then it no longer becomes work, it's just your life. It's what you want to do with your life. And if you're doing what you want to do with your life, I think that's a life well lived. Whether it's a business or a job or whatever it is, whatever's best for you is best for you.
Wow. So occasionally you see, I see books or talks or something on how to become an entrepreneur, how to develop the skills for an entrepreneur. But really, I think what you're saying is it's more, there's this word again, fundamental. It's more fundamental than that. It's more innate than that, that some of us value this freedom to make as much money as we can, make our own schedule, do all that. Some of us have that as a value, and others would rather just not worry about it, draw a regular check and have regular hours. Either way is fine. So it's not, so really the real question is maybe, is entrepreneurship part of your value system?
Yeah, exactly.
Does it fit more into a value, you think, than a...
Well, I don't think entrepreneurship is kind of a broad term. I don't think that's the value. I think the values are what you want in life. So like finances is one value, relationships, social life, your kids, your family. There's lots of different values that you're going to have. And, John DeMartini is another guy that I listen to all the time. He talks about we have this hierarchy of values. So, for someone who's got number one on your values is your kids. And number two is, school. And number three is education. And number four is shopping. And number five is having a nice house. And then way down on the bottom, like number 12 is wealth and finances. Well, that person is going to be struggling and in debt their whole life. And it's just obvious because they're going to spend all the money that comes in on their top values, and they're not going to save it. They're not going to invest it. They're not going to start a business. So, Dr. DeMartini is a brilliant guy. He says, look, you can either change your values to get what you want or change what you want to match your values. And I think that's key, because if you want to start a business, there's a difference between saying I want to start a business and actually doing it. And the people who do it are the people who see enough value in doing it that they're willing to take that risk. They're willing to, face fear in the face. When I started my business at 19, I had all my friends in college tell me I was an idiot. You're so stupid. Why are you selling these nutritional supplements? I can't believe you're selling. You could go to investment banking. You can make all this money. And I was like, there's no way. I don't want to. To me, they were stupid for what they wanted. And the only reason we both saw each other as stupid is because we just have different values. And it's okay to have different values and to be friends with people with different values and to understand different values. But I think the key is to understand your own values first and foremost so that you can get what you want in life, and then understand other people's values so you can have good relationships and you're not judging people because they want something different from what you want.
Excellent. And tell me again the guy you were referring to, Martini. What's the first part of that?
Dr. John Demartini, Demartini. He's an incredible, brilliant guy. I've got all his audio programs in my iPod. I listen to them regularly.
John Demartini.
Yeah.
Got it. Excellent. Let's see, buddy, we've been at it for almost an hour now. It's amazing how quickly this has gone. Tell me one last thing. You mentioned spirituality as being that important. And, you know, as much as you want, tell me what that means to you and how that fits in, because that's an unseen thing that sometimes my own son right now is telling me, you know, Dad, I've decided I'm an agnostic because I can't see these spiritual things you're talking about. Mm-hmm. So what's your take on that? How is that important?
Well, first of all, I don't think spirituality is different from religion. I think they're connected, but they're different. And so to me, spirituality is about being the best I can be and understanding, you know, what is my purpose in life? What is my purpose on this planet? You know, what am I here for? What am I doing? You know, and where do I fit in the greater universe? Where do I fit with God, or whatever you call it, this universe that we live in? And I think that's what spirituality is to me. And what it means, you know, how I look at it is, again, Dr. John Demartini, he is the expert on this subject. You know, he talks about like everything is spiritual. You know, where is spirituality not? Is the question that he asks all the time. You know, to say that someone who's a billionaire who spent their entire life making a company, you know, is not a spiritual person, I think it's bogus. Because, you know, there's many people who are very, very wealthy, who spend their entire life in business, who then give all their money away, like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and many, many others. You know, and some of them give their money away to spiritual organizations, to churches, to religious groups, to community service groups, you know, to changing the world and educating future generations. So I think that spirituality is everywhere. And again, if you're living the life that you value most, if you're following your values and living a life that's true to you, I don't think there is any higher spiritual calling or any higher spiritual mission than that. You know, if you're helping your fellow humankind and you're helping yourself and living a life that you love, that's spirituality to me. So every time I'm reading books, when I'm studying, when I'm with my family, when I'm doing things I love to do, when I'm doing interviews like this, to me, this is like the highest expression of my spirituality that I can give, to give back to the world all this information and education that I've learned over the years. You know, to me, that's spirituality. So, you know, again, it's one of those things that's going to be different for everyone, but that's what it is for me.
So again, where is it not?
Exactly.
Right? It's everything. But tell me, and if I might pry just a little bit, are you doing any stuff like meditation, prayer, quiet times, seeking it, you know, just sitting and being? Are you is that important in your life at all?
Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of I love meditation. I'm also not really good at it. So I do it, but really when I find that quiet time, like I talked about before, it's the night before my next day. I'll plan everything out for the next day. And in addition to doing that, I'll do things like having a list of what I'm grateful for that day. I'll think back on the day. I'm really grateful I had this amazing interview with Don today. I'm really grateful I had great food today. I've got a wonderful home. I've got a wonderful fiance. You know, I'm grateful for all these things in my life. And I'll also just reflect back on what I've learned and, you know, how my life is going and what I want to do in the future. And to me, that's that kind of quiet time where there's no one else around. It's just me, and I'm contemplating my life. And, you know, I think it's important to take that time out. For sure, that's very important. Because if you don't, then what happens is you just get stuck in all these old habits of whatever you've been doing. And, you know, Charlie Munger talks about the key to success. One of the keys is that there's all these people that have all these bad habits that they had when they were kids, and when they're 80, they still have the same bad habits. And if you can just change those bad habits, you know, you're gonna have a better life. But the key to changing is that awareness. And if you don't take time out to think about your life and to meditate and to reflect, you're not gonna be conscious enough to see where you're making mistakes and where you might want to make corrections.
Okay, and one thing I heard there at first was that idea of gratitude.
Yeah.
How important is that to be thankful for where we are and what we have? You know, we moved recently from Idaho Falls, Idaho to Bend, Oregon. As a matter of fact, we're still really doing that. The girls are still in Idaho Falls, and myself and my two sons came over here. And we had this move that was just nightmarish. I mean, everything started going wrong, and we ended up with my truck breaking down, and we're holed up in a motel, and the house we had arranged in advance ended up that we didn't want it, and we didn't want to be where it was, and we came back up to Bend. Anyway, it looked really bad. We're just holed up in a hotel room watching, cash flow down the tube, eating in restaurants, and wondering if we're going to be able to find a place to live, because, Bend is one of the few hot spots in the world right now, I think, and it seems like everyone wants to live here. So anyway, it was tough. And that's the thing that kept us kind of together, I think, was trying to remember to be grateful, even though we weren't in our home, even though we weren't settled, even though the internet connection in the motel kept dropping, even though the truck was broke down, we're having to walk everywhere. And that reminds me, why in the world didn't I use my insurance and get a rent-a-car? I don't know, I could have. So I paid for it, why not use it? Anyway, gratitude, such a big deal. Let me see if there's one more thing. And I guess what I'll do, how about, Tom, if we just end this with, we're going to stop now, but let's get back together again soon. How's that sound? I'd love to talk with you again.
Yeah, I'd love to talk with you more too. You're an amazing man and great interviewer, and yeah, I'd love to share more. It'd be great.
Let's do it. Let's just look at that. And hey, I wish you all the best. And man, I'm so impressed with what you're doing. Thanks for the references you threw out there. I'll do some following up on those. And is there anything else? If you had some guy come up to you saying, hey Tom, what are the 3 most important things in life I need to know? What would you tell him?
That's a great question. Well, I think first of all is gratitude, like we just mentioned. You've got to be grateful for where you are. Even the bad stuff that happens is some of the best stuff that will ever happen in your life, because it will teach you, these are some areas you made mistakes, and if you change those, you won't have those problems anymore. And so if you're just willing to be grateful for everything and to learn from your mistakes and learn from other people's mistakes, I think that's key. So number 1, gratitude. Number 2, always be learning from yourself, from others, from books, anywhere you can, always be learning. And I think number 3 is just take action. If you get inspired to do something, you feel that inner voice telling you to start a business or to write a book or to get married or to settle down or to move, follow that inner guidance, because life is way too short to do what other people want to do. Follow your own values, go for what you want in life. And even if you fail, even if you struggle over and over again, at least you'll be learning. At least you'll be doing something different. At least you won't look back in your life and say, I wish I had tried. I wish I had done something else. Because, at the end of your life, if you can say, look, I did everything I could, I did the best of my ability, that's a life well lived.
Incredible. Right on, my friend. I want to say amen to everything you say. So, what can I say? Good job. Good job. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Don. I really appreciate it.